My name is Petra Silton. I'm the Director of Advocacy and Education for Thrive, which is the Alliance of Nonprofits for San Mateo County. I know some of you are not familiar with Thrive, so we're happy to welcome so many new people to this event. We'd like to welcome you to this specific program, but for Thrive, we do many different things, not just environment and sustainability. Our goal is to empower nonprofits to thrive by uniting voice and influence, capacity building, enabling collaboration between nonprofit organizations, government entities, foundations, businesses, and community leaders that all share a commitment to improving the life of San Mateo County. We offer a wide range of programming and support for nonprofits across many issue areas, including arts and culture, civic participation, education, immigration, basic needs, and of course, environment and sustainability. As you can see here, some of our programs that we do regularly. Many of these meet monthly. Right now, we have some great events coming up, including, as you can see on the bottom of the screen, how to tell your story and drive action. So that's something that anybody in this room might be interested in, talking about how a nonprofit in Southern California had a devastating fire and then told a really good story about how important and how impactful their work was, and was able to rebuild back much better. And so the people who were involved in that are going to be telling that story. We hope you can join us for that. Next slide. So these are some of the other work that we do, working on civic participation, on redistricting, on the strength of the nonprofit community, on COVID outreach, on mitigating learning loss. If you have any questions about any of these, please see our website or reach out to me or Doug. Thank you. Our Thrive is a membership-based organization, but everyone is welcome to our public events, which almost all of them are public. We have different mailing lists for different things. So many of you might be on our environment and sustainability mailing list, but if you're interested in any of our other topics, please let us know. We're happy to add you to our mailing list, and we would love to see you at some of our upcoming events. So with that, I want to thank Doug. I want to give him an extra special thank you because he pulled together an amazing number of speakers to really showcase how fantastic our county is, what amazing green spaces we have, and how many organizations we have that are working to preserve that. So I appreciate all of Doug's hard work, and I appreciate all of that he's been able to do to make this environment and sustainability program so solid. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Doug. Thank you.
Thank you, Petra. And yeah, this might be my second to last meeting of some of you. Welcome to the new folks. We have a lot of returning individuals on this call, but some of you are new, of course. But for those who've known me a while, bittersweet that I am moving out of the area. And I'll tell you more about that at some point. Hopefully catch up before I leave in June. But we've been doing this great work since February 2018. I think I was at the very first meeting as a attendee, and then I became a volunteer and eventually became a employee at Thrive. But we've been in 30 monthly meetings to date, these cross-sector, cross-discipline, so across these climate, energy, food, land, transit, waste, and water, as I always say, business, government, nonprofit, and youth. We're bringing this community together to discuss challenges and solutions through the lens of equity. And we've been so fortunate to have over 100 speakers, sustainability leaders in San Mateo County. I think we've counted over 1,250 of individual attendees or attendance, tickets, so to speak, over those 30 meetings, maybe over 600 or 700 unique people, and then all kinds of great nonprofit and organizations, business, government, nonprofit, and youth. I want to give a plug for our next meeting, which will be my last. And I've worked with the youth across the whole county. I know a lot of you have youth programs, and it's amazing what the youth in our county has been able to do, and in partnership with adult organizations as well. But On May 20th, we're going to have a session where a lot of the youth leaders speak about their programs, both adult or established long-term organizations that have youth programs and youth programs created by and led by youth. It's called Amplifying and Supporting the Next Generation of Sustainability Leaders. So please go to Thrive website and sign up for that. You'll probably get an invite if you're attending this and signed up for this. I want to definitely acknowledge our sponsors, our supporters. Thank you for believing in us and allowing us to make great programming. Before I introduce this program and our 11 great speakers, I'm going to turn it over to Carlos at Peninsula Clean Energy very briefly and give you all an opportunity to hear and learn more about their programs, which we're blessed to have them in our county. So Carlos, do you want this slide or the next slide or both slides?
This slide is good.
Okay.
Hi, everyone. My name is Carlos. I'm the Community Outreach Specialist for Peninsula Clean Energy. Happy Earth Day. Wanted to thank Thrive for giving us a minute or two to speak. And that you're leaving, Doug, is news to me. So we're really gonna miss you. You've been a great climate advocate for our county, and it's definitely gonna leave a void. So thanks for all your hard work that you do. Real quick, I've presented to Thrive before, so I'm gonna skip the overview of who we are. We're the community outreach. We're the community electricity provider for San Mateo County. And I'm just going to talk about some of our programs. So climate change, threatens our open spaces and biodiversity. So one of the ways we can protect it is by getting off fossil fuels. So we offer a number of programs for people to get involved and switch from gas products to electric products. Quickly touching on this first one, heat pump water heater. So if you are looking to replace your water heater, consider an electric heat pump one. We're offering up to $2,500 rebate in partnership with Bayren to replace your gas one. And there's additional rebates if electrical panels are required. And if you know anyone, or if you're on the Care Fair discount rate, there's even more rebates for that. All of that information is on our website. If you go to peninsulacleanenergy.com, there's a residential tab where you can find this. Next slide, please. Actually, sorry, I just skipped something real quick. Can you go back real quick? Okay, another one that's really exciting is an EV rental rebate. So we're offering you can rent an EV on us. So we're offering up to $200 for any San Mateo County resident to rent an EV. So you can go to whatever car rental company, enterprise. We recommend Turo because of their large supply of EVs. So you can rent whatever EV you want, and we'll give you up to $200 rebate after you try it, because we're so confident that people who try it will love it. So we estimate it would be around 2 days, a weekend for you to rent an EV. Okay, next slide. And then specifically around resiliency, we have a rebate program to make battery and solar plus battery backup affordable for people. So it's up to $1,250 rebate on a solar plus storage system. And the way we're working with Sunrun on this program, and the way we've designed these programs, is for people to be able to save long-term on this system. And if you already have solar, you probably know that when the power goes off for whatever reason, you still don't get power. So the only way that you can still keep power is if you have a solar and storage system combined. So again, all this information is on our website to learn more and to fill out a form for someone to reach out to you. Yeah, thanks again to Thrive, and really appreciate a couple minutes to speak today.
Yeah, thank you, Carlos. And look at that map you got there. I mean, beautiful water on both sides of our county, and looks like to me, of course it says high threat zone, but half of it is open space. We're pretty lucky to have such a wonderful, beautiful county. So today's meeting, I'm going to go quickly into the meeting because we've got so many speakers and so much time, so little time to cover all the great information. But there's even more people who we could have picked to represent the fight for open space and protection and preservation of lands. But we've got an amazing group here today. And each one will get a chance to give a small sliver of what they're doing, and then we'll get a chance to ask some questions. Just a few thoughts on open space. As I've looked up, undeveloped and publicly accessible. That's the definition, but there are options out there for what open space can do. It can be used for agriculture, for ecosystems. Even though it's open now, doesn't mean it's going to always be open. So that's why we have these great groups. But we're fortunate there's a few good trends here working in our direction. And I just want to acknowledge that we have some momentum, which urbanization, there's more people moving to cities globally. We know there's a trend towards density in urban areas and not developing. I think people generally, they're talking about density all the time. And I put pandemic walks. More people have been outside recently. So there's some wind at our back. And then I think locally, we've got a very amazingly beautiful area. We've got all these nonprofits that are focused on preservation, acquisition and preservation, and allowing access to, as Midpen in their mission statement says, I think, ecologically sensitive access to our lands for recreation. And then our government, I think, is pretty good in pushing open space and preserving it. So I think we're blessed with an abundance. I said we're doing it. We're acquiring and preserving. This, I think, this is again in Midpen's wording. We're acquiring and preserving lands in perpetuity. We're protecting and restoring them, and we're allowing ecologically sensitive enjoyment. A couple things. I don't want to take up too much time, but I do want to take a moment because this is one of my last meetings, and I feel like I want to just impart some wording, and that is land acknowledgement. I'm not going to read a land acknowledgement statement, but last year there was a big effort to figure out the trail of the Portola expedition, and 251 years ago now, and understand what land we went over. And at that time, there was amazing open space with indigenous peoples who tended to the land very well. And I often think about, I've read about what amount of wildlife and flora and fauna was in this area before it was developed. I think about what it would look like as I drive through the hills here, what it would look like without the development. And just, acknowledge that we weren't the first people here, and we should probably always think about who came before us and maybe who's going to come after us. In terms of reflections, as I said, I'm moving to Europe, and I've traveled. It's bittersweet. I love this area, but I've traveled extensively to Europe, and I just want to say, I think that in our area, I think we are very good at understanding the challenges. Our community is very good at understanding the solutions that we need to deploy given our challenges, so that we don't face those orange sky days we had in August, which are kind of potential doom. I think broadly in all of our communities, all of our leaders, all of our residents, that our heads are in the sand, not us on this call, but in deploying those solutions. I do feel our community understands the challenges. We believe in science. We're fortunate that we have smart people here. We know what it will be like when if we don't do anything, but I feel like as our community broadly that our leaders and all of our population are not stepping up enough to deploy the solutions, proven solutions that we know we need to do, and that we have somewhat of a Pollyannish view of the world, our world, and that we're entrepreneurial and we like the quick wins, and we are we fail. We like, you know, in the entrepreneurial setting, failing is okay. And I just want to challenge you as I leave to keep fighting, to push for those solutions to be deployed, because I will say, as I said when the speakers came on, this group of open space leaders have paved the way 50 or more years ago in this area to preserving open space, and I think they've done an amazing job. Other groups of sustainability leaders, I think, should be pushing as hard, and every small win counts. So I think it's up to us in this community to never be quiet and always fight. And that's maybe my one regret, is not always fighting for every opportunity. But I will say one thing I've always pushed for is working in groups, and working in larger groups is better than working alone and working in small groups. So work together and work boldly is what I will say in reflecting on what I could have done and what I would give advice to others. So keep up the good work, everyone, and never be quiet. With that, I'm going to let each speaker introduce themselves. We're going to have 3 speakers, and then we're going to have stop for a speed round, 3 and a speed round of questions, and hopefully we'll get to some open questions. It's 3:50, so I will turn it over to Alex Fernandez, Chief Operating Officer of Filoli Historic House and Gardens.
Hello, everybody. Thanks, Doug, and thanks for having me. I get to be the guinea pig here with our 4-minute time limits. I'll see what I can do to keep everything moving smoothly. When we first started looking at this program, we were talking a lot about sustainability, stewardship projects going on, and I spent a lot of time kind of talking about some of the projects that we've had going here at Filoli, but instead I really thought about what we've been doing the last couple of years as an organization, and really what we found out we need to do is really to try to set solid organizational structure so that all of our stewardship and sustainability efforts were actually consistent. We would have projects, something became hot, we would do that and tackle something else. Filoli as a whole, as an organization, has really had a major transformation in the last few years. And so really, I want to focus a little bit in my short time here is sustainability in our operations, in our business model, in order to really set the stage for our stewardship projects. And it really started with our mission, and we wanted to revamp our mission and vision, and you see it here on our slide, to connect our rich history with a vibrant future through beauty, nature, and shared stories. Our vision is we envision a time when all people honor nature, value unique experiences, and appreciate beauty in everyday life. And I hope those hit home with you, because man, it took a long time to wordsmith those things into a mission and vision statement. So, but it was a great exercise, and it really got the whole staff, the whole organization kind of on board with really that broad theme of what we wanted to be, so we can really determine what we wanted to do in the future. We had to determine like who we are, what do we want to be, and really then how do we get there? And we just didn't have that roadmap. So we've worked pretty hard, like I said, in the last several years. And after that mission statement and vision were completed, the next thing was really the strategic plan. Where do we want to be, and what do we have to do to get there? So we embarked in a pretty extensive strategic plan project, and we came up with our cross-cutting principles, really the 3 areas that we really wanted to focus on. First of all, diversity and inclusivity. We really wanted Filoli to be open to all, and really work tirelessly to create a place where everyone feels welcome and respected. We really wanted to broaden our appeal, broaden our effect, broaden our audiences. Sustainability was a huge one as well. We want to integrate sustainable environmental, operational, and financial practices. Really kind of difficult in a historic property like this, in that it was not built with sustainability in mind whatsoever. So we're kind of tasked with being as sustainable as possible and really taking this estate into the modern age when it comes to sustainability. And then organizational excellence. We really want to achieve our highest standards and benchmarks in our industries and start to lead the nation in new programs and partnerships and the talent that we have here to really, to Doug's point, really kind of join the fight and be part of the solutions instead of just kind of being our own insular institution. So first we had to kind of figure out who our audience was. And this was really interesting when those of us who've worked here quite a while, we all thought we knew who our audience was. We see people here every day, but really we didn't. And our audience has changed over the years considerably, as I'm sure those of you in other public in open spaces have seen as well. So we really wanted to see who was coming so we could tailor our practices, whether it's stewardship, sustainability, whatever our practices were, to really reach those audiences. And this gave us a great makeup of ethnicities, of ages, where people were coming from, local versus distant. So it really pinpointed where we had to focus our efforts. And really understanding our audience was then kind of a key factor, next slide, in our diversity, equity, and accessibility and inclusion, DEAI task force that we launched last year. Again, this is another kind of a key point of, who do we want to be and who do we want to come here to Filoli enjoy what we do. I'm not going to read the statement here due to our time, but it really, again, sets the stage organizationally of what we want to be. So the whole organization, top down, understands what we're all about when it comes to DEAI. And ultimately, we already had a great credo, the Filoli credo, fight, love, live. We strive to live our credo authentically, to fight for a just cause, love your fellow man, and live a good life. So that credo actually has stood the test of time. So thank you, William Bourne, for that in 1915. And then on top of that, the next thing was we knew what our audience was, we knew where we wanted to be, and really one thing that I'm really excited about, and it's going to lead to really just a watershed of stewardship projects, is our site master plan. We have embarked on, we're in 1 year, COVID put us back a year, but we're right in the middle of really launching this master plan that is going to look at all the work we've done, what we want to be, where we want to be, and then what do we have to do to make that happen from an infrastructure point of view, stewardship, sustainability. And that's a really exciting project that I'm heading up and particularly excited about, because again, that is going to really launch us Filoli into the next era where we can really consider ourselves a sustainable organization and a true steward of the land. And I think I've hit my time.
Yeah, got to keep moving. But I think it's, I love your credo, and I think it's an excellent transition to San Bruno from the historic. I mean, there's so much history in our lands here. And I know Ariel and I have talked about the history, the 5,000-year-old history in San Bruno Mountain. So Ariel, why don't you take it away and tell us about your great organization.
Thank you very much. Hi, everyone. My name is Ariel, and I work on San Bruno Mountain with San Bruno Mountain Watch. We have 4 main programs: a community-based ecological restoration, our native plant nursery education programs, and our conservation advocacy. And all the work that we do aims to meet these overarching goals, to inspire appreciation for the natural and cultural histories of San Bruno Mountain through a variety of ways, and also to provide opportunities for people of all ages and backgrounds to communally care for the mountain. The mountain is the dividing line between San Francisco County and San Mateo County, and we primarily serve communities in that region such as in Brisbane, Colma, Daly City, San Francisco, and South City. Thank you. I'm going to highlight 4 quick projects that work towards those goals that I mentioned. One is our work on the San Bruno Mountain Dunes. The dunes are remnant ancient sand dunes, part of the ancient coastline on the western side of San Bruno Mountain. And we've been working with youth, primarily from the west side communities of the mountain in Daly City and Colma, to remove invasive plants that threaten the rare dune flora, like the San Francisco lozenge and the San Francisco spineflower and others. And so here you see some photos of middle school and elementary school students removing ice plant. You can see a before and after photo there, and also planting native dune plants back on the dunes. Another project that we're really excited about is the San Bruno Mountain Botanical Garden. In the late 90s and early 2000s, a prior group called the Friends of San Bruno Mountain, they started a botanical garden at the park entrance. However, some years later, the group disbanded and the garden essentially became abandoned. And so we're working to restore this botanical garden, make it a garden that features 100 of the most characteristic native plants of San Bruno Mountain, and not just make it a botanical garden with those plants, but also full of many stories that tell all the mountain's tales through a lot of interpretive signs, and right at the park entrance in a flat area. And so we feel it'll reach a lot of park visitors. A lot of the work that we do is passes through the heart of our Mission Blue Nursery. It's a native plant nursery built by volunteers, and with growing plants with the help of so many volunteers as well. We're dedicated only to growing the native plants of San Bruno Mountain, which we collect by permit from the mountain. And it's such a lush place. It allows us to provide plants for a lot of restoration projects on the mountain, restoration projects in other parts of the county, and also in urban areas. We feel our native plants are ambassadors to the mountain, and whenever someone brings a plant home to their school or to their garden, it begins a relationship that leads them further to explore the mountain more. And the last thing I want to highlight is some of our digital learning initiatives. This year, 2021, marks 50 years of the People's Movement to Save San Bruno Mountain, 50 years specifically from the founding of the Committee to Save San Bruno Mountain, which was, though there were some efforts before then to protect the mountain from different schemes, this group rose in the front yard of a South City mom who put up a sign on her yard and gathered people together to fight against a plan to build a whole new city on San Bruno Mountain, 40 to 50,000 people, as you can see on the map there. And so that's just, the mountain is full of so many stories, and we have different ways of trying to share those stories with the public. We have a San Bruno Mountain Archives. It's a public history project that we have filled with all sorts of articles and documents. And we also have other forms of electronic curriculum on our website. And that's my 4 minutes. So thank you very much.
Awesome. Perfect timing. Thank you. And I recommend a hike from the Brisbane side through this beautiful area that I guess not too many people take that hike, but that's would be one of my favorites in the county. Gladwin, jump in, and we're lucky to have had Sierra Club here for more than 50 years, I think. So Gladwin, please let us know what you guys are up to.
Good evening, and thanks for inviting us to be part of this panel with colleagues that have we've worked with over time, really fantastic organizations that have done so much for open space. The Sierra Club Loma Prieta chapter covers San Mateo County, Santa Clara County, and San Benito County. And our mission statement is to practice and promote the responsible use of Earth's ecosystems and resources. And our motto is to explore, enjoy, and protect. And you guys know us for the work we've done on behalf of parks. We were founded more than 100 years ago to advocate for the formation of Yosemite. One thing about being so old is we get to hear from are advocates that were active in the 70s when Earth Day was formed. And they say that the original Earth Day borrowed heavily from the language of the then active civil rights movement to have humanity look at Earth's environmental degradation and the resultant degradation of the lives of individuals and communities. So it's good to be here today talking about Earth Day. Next slide, please. The campaigns we work for nationally, the big one has been Beyond Coal. This is our effort to close down coal plants. We've closed about 400 so far in the US. It's, we can say quite emphatically now that coal is on its way out. It caused asthma and all kinds of other pollution of air and water in local communities, a lot of which were indigenous or low income. For example, there were 7 coal plants around the Navajo reservation, in and around the Navajo reservation, that powered the West, the settlement and growth of the West. Whereas on the reservation itself, there were less than 30% of people had power, but a really high incidence of asthma. So what do we advocate in exchange for the replacing coal is the microgrids, especially neighborhood level microgrids. And that's the middle picture at the top, where probably the best example was the Witch Creek fire in 2007, when San Diego could have gone down as the power lines came down with the wind. And San Diego University UC San Diego turned its microgrid around and kept downtown San Diego alive for a week until additional power could be brought in. That was the most, sort of well-known microgrid. But since then, New York University kept the hospitals running in New York after Hurricane Sandy. Going with microgrids is a way also of protecting open space, because we don't need to put these big solar farms and all, for example, out in the desert, where the desert tortoise and other carbon has already been sequestered along with species and critical sources of water. Another thing we work on is anti-displacement, both at the state and the local level through our Sustainable Land Use Committee. And finally, what we've known for is hiking and the protection of parks and open space and creatures. So next slide, please. If you go over to our website, our conservation committee will tell you all the different kinds of work we do on air quality, wildlife, climate action plans, things like that. Our Sustainable Land Use Committee works on developments within the cities to make sure they are equitable and fair. And the Beyond Coal campaign, I put that link in there because that's what most people tend to ask us about. So thank you. It was great being part of this group. And thank you for inviting us.
Thank you, Gladwin. And I've hiked with Sierra Club many times. At age 52, I've definitely been the youngest in some of those hikes, and it's definitely the slowest too. I remember one hike I was at least 10 miles in, and I wanted to turn around, and everyone else said, "Bye, see you later." So I had to drop out. Great work you guys have done. So speed round, question number 1 is, what's your favorite hike in San Mateo County open space? I'm going to name a few people, and then anyone else who wants to jump in. Also in the audience, if you want to put yours in the chat, favorite hike in San Mateo County. Ariel? Got a favorite hike?
Yeah, sorry, I was muted. There's a really special canyon called Buckeye Canyon on San Bruno Mountain. It has really fascinating cultural history, so many wildflowers and woodlands and scrub, and it's just a really diverse experience to go hiking there. Buckeye Canyon.
All right, Hannah, San Mateo County Parks.
Yeah, I
Department?
think one of my favorites is the Heritage Grove Loop in San Mateo County Park. It has one of our old growth redwood groves, and when you hike up the hill, you end up in this really beautiful vista looking over Bruno Ridge. And it's a nice 5-mile loop. So
Heritage.
I recommend it.
What's it called? Heritage
Heritage Grove.
Grove. Okay, cool. I'm writing these down. Josh, anything in Midpen in particular, Midpeninsula Open Space District?
Well, if I enjoy somewhat punishing hikes, the Whitmore Gulch Trail in Purisima Creek,
Okay.
Redwoods
Yep.
is. I recommend starting at the bottom.
That's a good one. I've done that one. Haven't done the other two so far. Michelle Beasley has told me she's hiked every trail in the entire San Mateo County Parks Department. Any favorite hike in the county parks?
Well, I have a lot of favorite hikes. A couple have been mentioned, so I will. I'll share it. I love San Pedro Valley. I love doing the Montara Mountain Brooks Trail, where you get a lovely surprise view of the Pacific Ocean at the top.
Okay. Anyone else on the speakers want to mention Junco? Okay. Marshall, Megan, anyone else?
Yeah, I'll jump in. This is Junco.
Sure.
I think a favorite hike is one that you can do a lot, and so that you can see it in different times of the year and watch it change over the year. And for me, I'm fortunate that one that is super close to me is Edgewood Park, and the Clarkia Trail in particular is beautiful right now.
That's funny because I was gonna, I had Peter's name down here and which month of the year, not only which hike, but which month of the year. So Peter, I'll let you finish this round. Would you agree?
Any trail,
Edgewood.
any trail in Edgewood and any time of year. Those are all my favorites.
Okay, cool. All right, so there'll be another speed round, and I didn't look in the chat box, but hopefully we got some good hikes. So with that, I'm going to move into with Hannah Ormshaw, representing San Mateo County Parks Department, Natural Resource Manager. And if correct me if I'm wrong, 10% of our county is the San Mateo County Parks, 10% of our square footage, right?
I'm not sure. I'd have to figure that calculation out. I know, throughout the County Parks Department, so it represents 24 park properties and over 16,000 acres. So, the exact proportion of what open space in the county that is, I'm not sure off the top of my head, but I know it's definitely a large number, and we're spread pretty well throughout the county. We have 190 miles of trail and 3 regional trails, including the Coastal Trail and the Bay Trail. Our mission for the County Parks Department is that through stewardship, San Mateo County Parks preserves our county's natural and cultural resources and provides safe, accessible parks, recreation, and learning opportunities to enhance the community's quality of life. Some of the 3 kind of main tiers for the department in terms of our priorities are visitor services, natural resource management, and facilities and infrastructure. So my role as natural resource manager, I'm most closely working in the natural resources realm. So I can speak to some of our stewardship related work in this area. So for natural resource management, much of our work is focused on habitat restoration, things like invasive species control work and promoting ecosystem health, improving habitat for wildlife species. Some examples of some projects that we have been working on recently include coast yellow leptosiphon seed amplification and plans to introduce the species to Pillar Point Bluff. Right now it is in only one known location at Fitzgerald Marine Reserve, and it's a very small pocket of land where it grows. So we're hoping to be able to expand where it's growing and have other populations We also have a creek and riparian restoration work at Fitzgerald Marine Reserve, which is what you see pictured here. And this is from a few years ago, but a lovely effort to do native planting in that riparian area. We also have snowy plover habitat restoration at the dunes at Tanitas Creek Beach, and regularly do butterfly grassland habitat enhancement work at San Bruno Mountain. We also have a really large focus on forest health and fuel reduction projects. So these are really more landscape scale forest management projects, improving forest ecosystem health and reducing hazardous fuels in different parks. We also manage properties that are home to over 135 different rare, threatened, or endangered wildlife species. So we do regular monitoring for many of these species as well. And we also manage projects that are intended to improve water quality and improve climate resiliency. Next slide. So in addition to the physical work that we do on the ground managing natural resources, we also have a really robust interpretive and education program to bring people out to the parks and have dedicated events and opportunities for learning about the parklands and various habitats. So events include interpretive hikes for specific projects or just our general Take a Hike program. We have a junior ranger program. There's different school and youth programming that the interpretive rangers conduct, and there are other special events that go on routinely. So I encourage people to keep an eye out for events on our website. Currently, many of them are still virtual, but we're hoping to bring some in-person events back again soon. But likely we will keep a mix of virtual and in-person events because happily through adjusting that to that format through COVID, we've seen a lot of engagement in the virtual activities, and it helps us bring the parks to people's homes rather than having all of our events in the parks. So our webpage and our social media are great outlets to learn more about these programs and events, and we also have periodic public meetings for specific projects, including some of our park improvement projects. Outside of attending virtual events, we have other ways to get involved with county parks, including our volunteer programs. So many of these are focused on habitat restoration, planting, weeding, beach cleanups, trail work. And we have regular events posted to our website as well. And we have been doing small events with limited capacity and in areas where we can do, well spread out in-person volunteer events, and are hoping to continue those over the coming months as well. And we also have opportunities for some citizen science programs, like we have annual bird and butterfly counts, sudden oak death blitzes, bio blitzes, and we're hoping to do more of these types of events as well. And I would also just like to plug really quickly that in the coming months, we will be starting a park user survey in order to better understand the park user needs and desires and help us improve the services that we're providing, tailor events and visitor experiences. And so just to keep an eye out for this in the coming months.
Awesome. Thank you, Hannah. I love in your parks, the Montero Mountain that's whoever mentioned is one of my favorites. And then Whitmore Gulch, love Whitmore Gulch. Incredible hike. So if anyone's not done that, I highly recommend that, which I'll turn it over to Josh to talk about Midpeninsula. That's in your space, right, Josh? Whitmore Gulch, Burissima.
Yes. Yeah,
yes,
that's one of our more popular preserves too. Hi, everybody. Josh Hugg, Governmental Affairs at MidPen. And just want to give you a quick overview of some of the things that we do and who we are. So we primarily exist on the spine of the Santa Cruz Mountains. We're a public agency that was created through a grassroots voter initiative, Measure R, in 1972, down in Santa Clara County. San Mateo County, we expanded into San Mateo County in '76, and then ultimately to the San Mateo coast in 2004. We have a good board. I guess I'm explaining this simply because we're a special district, and a lot of people don't know much about special districts. We're primarily funded through property tax, actually just like the county. And across all of our holdings, we have over 65,000 acres. In San Mateo County, I think we're on the order of 34,000 acres. And within there, we have 26 preserves and 240 miles of trails. I'll also note that we are free and open to the public every day of the year. Next slide, please. Just to give you an idea of where we are, this is a bandana, which I'm not plugging it, but you can purchase these. But it does give you an outline of where we are. We're kind of an odd shape. We're not completely in each county, but we are straddled between San Mateo, Santa Clara, and actually even a little bit of Santa Cruz County, 550 square miles. I'll say that 65,000 acres of holdings right now amounts to about 100 square miles. Next slide. So these are just a few of the projects that we've been working on recently. The Ravenswood Bay Trail, what we call a small but mighty segment, 0.6 miles of Bay Trail was opened up to the public last July. And that was a combination of both trail improvements, a boardwalk installation, and also some, the trail is part of the Ravenswood Open Space Preserve, which is a salt marsh in East Palo Alto. And we included in there the enhancement of these refugia for species that exist in the marsh to help resist the effects of sea level rise. If you've ever been down there, which I hope you do come and visit, it's particularly striking when you see the king tides come in. Next slide. This is a particularly important project that we have underway down in Lexington Reservoir and Highway 17. That area has been identified as a critical habitat linkage. It has regional significance that extends into San Mateo County because not only does it prevent things like auto accidents, collisions with wildlife. Unfortunately, we actually had one of those a couple of weeks ago. A female mountain lion was killed in that same location. But we're also facing an issue with genetic diversity of our mountain lion population on the peninsula. Last year, the California Fish and Game Commission actually provisionally listed the mountain lion as endangered, which heightens the imperative to get this crossing built. It is a combination of both wildlife and a hiking, an extension of the Bay Area Ridge Trail in that same location, though it's split between two different crossings. One's under for wildlife, one is over for hikers. The next one is just talks a little bit about the wildfire work that we do. We do quite a bit of work with fuel reductions. I think the CZU fire really heightened the imperative there for everybody. We are in the process of finalizing our wildfire resiliency program, which will increase our fuel treatment ability by 600% to approximately 2,600 acres per year. This will be applied across the entire district on all of our lands. Included in that, we also have a couple different things. One is a robust conservation grazing program. We have about 8,000 acres upon which we have grazing leases. And with our tenants, we have an expectation that they are not only grazing for food, but also grazing to help reduce invasive species spread and to reduce fuel loads. And then on top of that, we are working to implement what they call ecologically sensitive vegetation management the use of integrated pest management in fuel reduction, because a lot of the species that are particularly flammable are non-native. And if they're not handled in the correct manner, you actually spread those fuels further, those particularly flammable fuels. And I'm sure the coast sides, they're experiencing a lot of concern around the spread of eucalyptus. Finally, I think Doug had asked for, how can you help? I would start by just simply signing up for our e-newsletter. There are a lot of opportunities there to get involved that are advertised through there. And that's it.
Great, thank you, Josh. And I was on your website today, and I think you guys are doing a long-term plan, which it sounds like Filoli is too. And I think the Parks Department mentioned their survey. So kudos to all of you who have been around for a long time and doing these 10, 20-year plans, which is so important to think long-term. With that, I'm going to turn over to Junko. Great group of staff and volunteers, amazing organization. Will tell us about it, please.
Thanks, Doug. It's good to be here. I'm with Grassroots Ecology, and our mission is to engage and educate the public to restore local ecosystems. So everything we do is involving the public, whether it's families that want to volunteer, students. Everyone comes and pitches in and lends a lot of energy to all of our habitat restoration projects and other endeavors. We work in Silicon Valley, so kind of ranging from Redwood City down to Los Gatos. And in San Mateo County, we work in Redwood City at Stulsaf Park, which is owned by the city. Also, we have a site in downtown Redwood City, right at Kaiser. So if you go to Kaiser for your COVID vaccine and you see a little bunch of poppies on a street corner, that's us. It used to be a dense forest of invasive palm trees, and we managed to get a grant to remove those and plant native oaks and other native plants there instead. We also work in East Palo Alto at Cooley Landing and in Menlo Park along San Francisco Creek. We go to the next slide, please. We have a range of programs. Habitat restoration is kind of the biggest thing that we do, and a lot of that involves invasive plant removal by hand with volunteers. And we like to think we're making a lot of headway, reducing fire fuel. A lot of those invasives are annuals that leave a lot of fuel out there. And we also plant a lot of native plants into our open spaces and urban parks. So we work not only in open space, but also in urban areas as well. And bringing native plants into the urban landscape, we think is really important and can add a lot of value. We also do some rain barrels, rain garden installations, and we have a citizen science program that involves currently our college interns to help do water quality monitoring on San Francisco Creek and also Stevens Creek in Cupertino. And of course, we have a native plant nursery, which is kind of the heart of our operations as well. We're planting thousands of locally native plants in this area. And to make a plug, you can also buy native plants at our native plant nursery. So check out our website if you have a chance and are interested. Let's move to the next one. I just wanted to talk about what we've been up to this last year. Prior to COVID, we had thousands of volunteers working with us throughout the year. And of course, when COVID happened, we had to stop all of that. But we were, I'm really proud of our organization for getting it together pretty quickly to start offering restoration opportunities to stable groups of students. And so by doing the stable cohort model, we were able to get back out there as early as last summer. And we have run now 3 rounds of high school stewards involving 300 students, and all of them committing to an 8-week program coming out once a week. And we've also involved, we expanded our college intern program to invite many students out to work with our staff in the field and get some on-site, hands-on experience. And so we think this is really important, and just to be able to provide this opportunity for our students and build the next generation of our environmental professionals. And we're really excited to see also a much more diverse population of students who are interested in the environmental field. I know looking back at when I was in school, the faces around me, I think looked a lot different than the faces that we're seeing today coming in. Our students who are involved in community colleges and local colleges. So that's really exciting to see. And I can't wait for the next 10, 20 years to see where they go. And students, of course, have been happy with being able to just get outside. All of their classes have been on Zoom this year. So, and we, they did a lot of important work for us when we couldn't bring out thousands of volunteers like we typically do. We don't know what next year is going to look like, but we'll keep working at it. And Doug invited us to talk about something that you can do. So I'm going to get on my high horse with the native plants and say that invite everyone to plant native plants in your gardens. We really need to change our mindset, I think. And I think for this audience, maybe you can convince a friend to plant native plants in their gardens as well. And just to see your landscape as a place that is feeding the ecosystem. Let's not look at our plants and freak out that there's holes in the leaves. That's good. You've got insects eating those plants, and birds need to eat those insects and on up the food chain. And we don't have butterflies if we don't have food for caterpillars. So let's get more of those native plants everywhere. Thank you.
Thank you, Junko. And I'm going to throw the next question at you, but I'm also going to ask again, if you're in the audience, you can put this in the chat too. It'd be fun to see what your answer would be. Favorite plant, animal, or historical landmark in San Mateo County open space? Junko, favorite plant, I guess, would be a question to you.
It's really hard to choose. It's funny, I always say when someone asks me what's my favorite plant or animal life thing, I always say beaver. Beavers are amazing. However, I'm not sure they occur in San Mateo County. They are locally in the Bay Area, however. I love stories of animals that are making it in our cities. The steelhead trout in San Francisco Creek, beaver in downtown Martinez. I think those are really cool.
The steelheads are running apparently right now, as Kellix told me last week. Marshall, favorite animal, bird?
That too is a very difficult one. But I think some of the long-term migrating birds that migrate thousands of miles every year, such as, say, terns or godwits and many others, just because they see so many different habitats. They go over oceans and lands and mountains. So I think I'd like to be one of them, but at least they're some of my favorites. And I should add that we're so blessed in this area because this is a major migrating area for birds. And for example, one of my favorite places is down off of San Antonio Road on Charleston Slough, where you can see dozens of species of birds down there.
Thank you. How about Megan? You're out and about a lot, I know.
It's so
favorite
hard
plant, animal?
I have no good answer. It's so hard to pick one. I was like, oh, the snowy plover is pretty cute. So I'll go for cute. Cutest.
Okay. Yeah, and historical landmark, I kind of threw that in there. There's obviously that huge tree in El Monte open space, or I should know the name of that space. But anyway, there's all kinds of interesting historical locations on our lands. Anyone in the panel have a favorite historical landmark, or just big tree, DC-10 that crashed on our mountainside 20 years, 100 years ago?
This is Alex from Filoli. So the Methuselah tree up Skyline near El Corte Madera. That's what I was thinking of. Yeah. Oh, that one. Yeah, that's always a go-to. That's a beauty.
And so few people actually know about that.
And it's so close to the road.
Yeah. So and there's the weird rock formation in that same park too. That is an amazing park. As you can tell, I'm really excited about Tiffany. Yeah, there's so many places to see. If all of you on the call have not been to all these places, I'm not surprised because there's so many, but go check them out. Okay, we've still got a lot more to cover here, and we need to still move fast. So I'll go to Sarah, who's filling in for Kellex. If you really could stay to 4 minutes, I would so much appreciate it.
Okay, I will definitely. And apologies that Kellex had major technical difficulties today. So she asked me 5 minutes before this meeting if I could pinch hit. So I will do my best. We are, my name is Sarah Polgar. I'm a conservation program specialist with the San Mateo Resource Conservation District. As with the Midpeninsula Regional Open Space District, I know that sometimes people aren't so familiar with what Resource Conservation District does, and we kind of exist across California, and our purpose and mission is to help communities care for their natural resources, their land, water, soil, wildlife. We really serve as kind of a local hub for conservation and try to connect people with the technical assistance they need, education, financial assistance to really care and manage their natural resources. So a key defining characteristic of the resource conservation districts, or RCDs, is that we provide, our assistance is non-regulatory, it's confidential. We try to provide free assistance. We're really kind of linking landowners, often with agencies. We work very much in partnership and collaboratively with other organizations, many of whom are speaking today. So, and we're really boots on the ground. And so we have, and I guess one other thing I do want to mention is that we, unlike some other districts, we aren't actually our funding through the tax revenue is a very small percentage of our operating budget. And mostly we work to receive federal, state, private funds to allow us to do this work. So as I mentioned, we're really boots on the ground, and these are kind of the areas, program areas, although it's always feels a little bit artificial to divide them up because they really overlap. But I wanted to just give you a couple examples of some of the projects that are the types of work we do. So for water, for instance, that could be water quality, but also water supply. So this we have our water for fish farms and people, which is improving water storage, water efficiency. Our water quality program does like the first rain, which used to be called first flush. And we do help with low impact development projects, like to improve or reduce water quality issues and address water quality issues. We have a pet waste outreach and education program as well. A lot of our work also involves working with the agricultural community. And one of the areas that we work a lot in is with climate is carbon farming, where we work with the ag producers to both address the natural resource issues and needs they have for their operation, as well as, and at the same time, be implementing conservation practices that really help them increase their carbon capture in vegetation and soils on their properties and mitigate greenhouse gas emissions. We do a lot of habitat enhancement and restoration projects for these could be vegetation management around reducing invasives and improving natural or native habitat species. We do fish passage projects. Some of these you may have seen, and a lot of habitat enhancement in creeks. And then another area I just wanted to kind of really touch upon that a couple others have touched upon is forest health and fire resiliency. This is something that obviously is a big issue. We've been working a lot with our partners on this. And I apologize that the slides aren't lining up.
Yeah, sorry.
I didn't actually get to send any slides. So Kellex, I think, did her best to try to send you from her phone what she could.
I took one from a previous presentation.
I just wanted to point out that with our partners, we've been really working on these things like fuel load reduction with partner landowners. And we have like the neighborhood chipper program. So we have a lot of, in many respects, I think sometimes people don't necessarily realize all the different ways that the RCD is working around the county with landowners to really help them with various issues and to helping them to help the land essentially. And I guess the last thing is that you asked about what folks could do to help or get involved. I think that our water quality program is actually a great opportunity for folks who want to get engaged and involved with the RCD. We do, as I mentioned, have the First Rain, or it's like the First Flush program. I guess I'm old school and still call it First Flush. But that's one where folks can get involved. And also, I'd encourage folks to go to our website because you can start to learn more about some of the other programs. Like a lot of folks have been really interested in learning more about our carbon farming program, et cetera. So there's a lot of it, I'd encourage folks who are interested in volunteering, but also just in learning about some of the stuff that the RCD does. I feel like sometimes we're the best kept secret that folks don't necessarily know about us.
I'm trying to change that because I've
yes,
had you guys present on many of these. Thank you. I'm going to have to.
Thank you for including us on this.
Sure. Boots on the ground, I think, is a good way to put it. You guys all probably wear boots when you go out to Friday night dinners. Good people, really good people. And Marshall, I want to, I've actually not met you, but I know that we've exchanged emails with a bunch of members of your organization. I wanted to include you and tell us about yourself. I'm going to be learning from this too.
Thank you, Doug. Thank you and Thrive for inviting us. Unfortunately, I left out our contact info, but I'll put it in the chat. And also, I don't have any beautiful photos, even though us birders do a lot of photography. I
made your slides look nicer though.
Yeah, so, oh good, thanks. The mission of Sequoia Audubon Society is to protect native birds and other wildlife and their ecosystems in San Mateo County by engaging people of all ages in conservation, education, advocacy, and enjoyment. And our goals are, of course, to get people out and look at nature, learn about it, and realize how important it is to preserve the habitats of birds and other wildlife, because that's the way we can get people to pay attention to what's going on. Other goals are to expand our diversity, equity, and inclusion. We have a program to work on that, and we've published our statement on that. And we participate in a variety of conservation efforts countywide. Many of these efforts are with coalitions of other organizations, some of which are actually in this panel today. For example, we've worked on coalitions to preserve some of the very last remaining space in, say, in Burlingame to prevent a hotel or other high-rise from being built there. And also we're working on bird-safe issues in the Pillar Point Harbor because birds are endangered by some of the boat behavior. So we pay attention to a broad area of bird habitat and other habitats. And everybody is always welcome to all of our events. You don't have to be an experienced birder. If you go back one slide for a second, you don't have to be an experienced birder. People that are brand new that don't know one bird from another, they know a robin and a sparrow, but we're very inclusive and friendly to anybody that's interested in being out in nature and is willing to come with us and learn, and we'll share our knowledge. The next slide. So we have programs every month except the summer months of July and August, and they are actually, I can say this without any reservation, our programs are terrific, they're interesting, they cover a wide variety of areas, including travel, the people that have gone on trips just for birding, and tell us about their experiences, or they may have gone for environmental reasons and so on. And they're always very interested. interesting. And many of these illustrate the value of birds and the efforts to improve habitats and the survival of birds and other wildlife that are interdependent. As just two examples, this month, in May, the second Thursday of May, our current meetings are via Zoom, and you're welcome and invited to come to our meetings. They're on Zoom now, and hopefully in the not too distant future, they'll be in person. We have been meeting for a number of years at the in San Mateo, and that site is listed on our website. This coming month in May, there's going to be a talk that's not specifically directed at birds, but I suspect birds will have a role in it. We'll have Christian Schwartz talking about community science, long-term lessons and perspectives from 3 years of mushroom monitoring in the Santa Cruz Mountains. And we will probably learn about a variety of ecological interactions between mushrooms and other fauna and flora. And in June, there'll be one on hummingbirds, small wonders. Hummingbirds, everybody loves them, and I'm sure you'll love it. Okay, next slide, please.
Yeah, sorry, I actually have to move forward. Can I do your last slide?
No, one back.
Okay.
I don't expect to read all these to you, but there's a whole range of things that we've talked about. Trips to Morocco, historical things, and so on. I don't know if this is being recorded and whether people will have access, but if you do, you can read it later. And so the last slide is I somehow or other the location of our website isn't on here. It's audubon-sequoia.org. And there's lots of information about what we do. We have field trips. Everybody is invited. Annual bird counts. One's called the Big Sit, where in one location we record all the birds that come by in a day from night to sunset. And we participate in a variety of conservation activities that we hope some of you may be interested in joining, educational activities and so on. So thank you.
Thank you. Sorry to cut you off. I know there's so much to talk about. And I will try to join in the limited time I have left. I'll maybe try and join in one of your programs. Megan, sorry again to push you quickly through all this material. And I think I think I hid 2 of your slides, but I put information from one of them on the other. So.
Okay, well, I'm just going to say what I'm going to say, and I'll do as quickly as I can. Thanks, Doug.
All right.
Hey, everybody. Thanks so much for being here today and to Thrive for bringing us together. In the following few minutes, I'm hoping to share a little bit about our impact and how our organization is working to evolve to better ground basic principles of equity and inclusion in our work. We have a way to go, but we're on a journey like everybody else. So since 1962, Green Foothills has protected the open space, farmland, and natural resources in San Mateo and Santa Clara counties. I'd like to offer a land acknowledgement to the Muwekma Ohlone tribe, the Amamutsun tribe, and the Ramaytush tribe, and their ancestors and descendants whose unceded stolen lands Green Foothills is working to protect. And I'll share a link later for what we can all do to work in allyship with local Native American people. Next slide. So Green Foothills has always stood for protecting local nature and open space. And more recently, we've been working to increase power for a broader, more diverse community of people to affect change on environmental issues. One example I'll say is outside of San Mateo County, but I think one that we would all care about a great deal is our partnership with the Amamutsun tribe to protect 6,400 acres of sacred land and a critical wildlife corridor connected to the Santa Cruz mountain ranges from a sand and gravel mine. This is the most sacred site for the Amamutsun tribe. For the past several years, we have been working in partnership and with the invitation of the tribe, and I want to emphasize that it's with the invitation and that was really important to us. We've been working to staff this campaign, educate decision makers, supporting a large coalition of 70 members to participate, and we're with the tribe preparing for legal battle together. I'll also note that alumni of our leadership program are also engaging on this campaign. Green Foothills and the Yamamutsun have spent the past several years building trust with one another, and we're learning from one another. And this is just one example of many of our advocacy campaigns. Next slide. So the core obstacles we're working to overcome, they're here. One, the conventional paradigm that incentivizes sprawl, loss of biodiversity, and an equitable access to nature. And secondly, that the conservation movement has a history of perpetuating systemic inequities, limiting trust and partnership with marginalized communities. Next slide. So
I combined 2 slides.
A-okay, that totally works. Okay, so our programs we have, it's actually great. We have our advocacy program and our leadership academy program. So through our advocacy program, our staff engages on land use issues and collaborates with community members to do the same. We educate decision makers to be champions for the natural environment and also advocate for inclusive public process. We've worked on over 900 land use campaigns in San Mateo and Santa Clara counties since we were started, protecting over 180,000 acres of land. We engage on about 30 campaigns and land use issues every year in the 2 counties. There are 4 campaigns that you see at the top are 4 of our current priority campaigns. And I'm really happy to report as a part of our Earth Day, just woohoo, that last week we won our lawsuit against the Trump administration, moving us closer to protecting the Cargill salt ponds. And then this, our second program is our Leadership Academy program. This is a newer program, started in 2013. It trains diverse leaders in equitable and inclusive environmental activism. We offer sliding scale tuition so that everyone can participate. And I know that there are a few alumni on today's call. Good to see you. There have been 200 people who've graduated from the Leadership Academy who are attaining leadership roles, starting their own nonprofits, getting elected, getting appointed to commissions, and leading their own campaigns and initiatives for conservation and environmental justice. Next slide.
I think I cut one of them.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll just say, so what does this all add up to? We at Green Foothills believe that we will achieve our vision of climate resilience and having our community live in balance with nature if 1, nature-based solutions affirm biodiversity and equity, and 2, there's diverse leadership and inclusive land use planning processes. These are interrelated with one another and also connected with major systemic issues that are outside of our mission. So thanks for asking what you can do, Doug. There's a few ways here. Go to our website, sign one of our petitions just to get on our email list. And if you're interested, I encourage you to apply for our Leadership Academy program, or feel free to donate to support scholarships. Thank you, Doug, and thanks everyone.
Thank you, Megan. The Leadership Academy, I know I've talked to people who've gone through that. Very cool program. Thank you for all you guys do. I think we'll do, even though we're running quite late, just a couple. Anyone want to throw out most interest, and you could do this on the chat too, most interesting fact, fast fact or statistic about San Mateo County open space? I said, I think that 10% of the land is parks, county parks. Anyone got what a stats, that impressive stats about our open space?
I have a stat. Do you mind if I throw in a stat?
Sure, please.
So this actually came from Jose Gonzalez at the Bay Nature fundraiser over the weekend. I thought it was really interesting, and it's just about a word choice. That if you poll people on hiking, if whether or not they like to hike, by demographic, by ethnic identification, basically the word hiking is lowest among Black adults. Over 2/5 of Black adults have no interest in hiking compared to 1/5 of other adults. However, if you use the word walking, just walking outdoors, all of a sudden in every single demographic, it goes way up. Over 90% of adults have some interest in walking outdoors. So just vernacular can be such a huge importance in just reaching new audiences.
There's not much difference to the words hiking and walking, right? I mean, hiking is walking. Okay, cool. So maybe some of you on, maybe some of even the speakers can put in the chat interesting facts, or others as we move on to the last two speakers. And I apologize, we're short on time. I should have done this program a long time ago and included half of you, and done a second program. But Michelle Beasley, Executive Director of San Mateo County Parks Foundation.
Yes, thanks, Doug. Thank you, Thrive, for having us this afternoon. And happy to be representing the Parks Foundation. It's our mission to inspire people to care for, learn about, and enjoy San Mateo County parks. We are the nonprofit partner to the San Mateo County Parks Department and have been around for 22 years. We communicate about and promote park use, park access, park love, and the 23 parks that make up the San Mateo County Park System. We talk a lot about the health benefits of parks, that they are here for all of us, and identifying the barriers that prevent people from visiting the parks and then breaking those down. And then we also raise money for programs, projects, and people that may not otherwise be funded. So next slide. In addition to special projects, we like to support habitat restoration. And in particular, we have been doing a lot of funding of the good work at Edgewood Park and Natural Preserve in Redwood City. We recently were awarded a 2-year National Environmental Education Foundation grant to support the wonderful work that the Friends of Edgewood and Creekside Science are doing around their green grass initiative. And this is really building on work that we've been supporting over the years at Edgewood, starting with bringing back the bay checker spot butterfly and restoring the colony of the San Mateo thornmint, among others. And then we love to support the interpretive program. In fact, our board just recently committed funding for a 5-year interpretive plan. So that's a call to action for everyone on this call today, that the county, led by Ranger Catherine Wright, will be kicking off an interpretive plan. So it'll be important for people to plug into that. And that will tell the history of the parks, as well as the cultural and natural resources, and how to share that with the community, and doing that with an equity lens. Next slide. We love to support volunteer groups and encourage volunteering in the parks, as well as supporting park rangers. We have grant programs for both of these groups, and are constantly looking for ways to ensure that people have all the resources they need to volunteer in our parks. Examples of recent awardees in these two programs: we have given funding to the Pacific Beach Coalition to introduce beach cleanups at Murata Surf, one of our parks on the coast. And in terms of park ranger grant program, we supported a new weather station at the Coyote Point Marina, which you can get real weather data on your phone. And then finally, and this is a big bucket, but enhancing access, and this means a lot of different things. We really look forward to bringing our field trips program back, where we were funding the bus transportation to connect youth to our parks for a lesson in nature, especially youth who may not have an opportunity. Transportation is one of the barriers that prevents people from visiting the parks. Parking fees also can be a barrier for people. So we have a partnership with the San Mateo County Health System, where we have park prescriptions. You get a prescription to enjoy time in a park for your physical and mental health, and it doubles as a park entrance fee, because $6 can add up when you factor in our high housing costs here in San Mateo County. And then also we have been focusing on making accessibility improvements in our parks, most recently at Sanchez Adobe and Memorial Park. And so we're very excited about looking at more ways to enhance access for all abilities in our park system. So that's a quick introduction to some of the things we support. And again, I'll just plug, keep your eyes open for the 5-year interpretive plan as a way for everyone to kind of participate in that planning process. Thank you.
Awesome. And it's natural to go to, you mentioned your grants to work in Edgewood Park. So it's natural to finish off with Peter and Edgewood Park, right in the middle of the county, one of everyone's favorites. If you haven't been there, please go check it out, especially this time of year, right, Peter?
Yes, indeed. Thank you, Doug. And thank you to Michelle and all the rest of you for preceding me and sort of letting me have a few moments to add to what you said. So I'm going to quickly go through about 3 slides, and I want to come back to this slide. But the Friends of Edgewood have 3 active strategic priorities right now. We're about restoring, preserving, and protecting Edgewood's natural resources, which is the place. And we're working on inspiring stewardship of Edgewood by offering educational and interpretive natural history programs for people of all ages. So people. And then the third is really what I want to talk a little bit about today, which is strengthening our organizational infrastructure to better support our priorities. We were incorporated in 1997. We've got about 300 active memberships. We have over 30 programs, projects, and leader jobs that we regularly tend to, and we average about 13,000 hours invested in volunteer time in the preserve each year. Next slide. So I want to talk about the people for a moment. Pre-COVID, we had about 150,000 visitors come through Edgewood that were counted by the rangers at each of the trailheads. We took about 8,000 visitors through the education center during the year, and 55 active docents led over 1,000 hikers on the wildflower seasonal hikes. We've recently added and are actually just starting up a new Trail Ambassadors program that offers more volunteer opportunities and is really, I think, already successfully increasing our outreach and inclusion with visitors in the preserve, no matter what time of year they come. Next slide. The place. In the spirit of Earth Day, I want to read a quote from Dr. Stuart Weiss. The quote is, "Defying extinction is inherently a local act and requires on-the-ground engagement." And I thought about that quote today as I was putting this together, and the fact that it's Earth Day, and just deeply appreciate the legacy of all of those who came before and are still working hard at Edgewood. Our weed warriors, which Michelle mentioned, regularly log over 3,000 volunteer hours in the preserve. There's 30 or 40 active participants, and we have several projects and initiatives going on, which you can see on the slide. So Doug, if you could pop me back to my first slide, I'll wrap up with some requests for help. As I said, after the priorities around people and place, our third is to strategically and rigorously strengthen our organization. So right now, our short-term challenge that we're focused on is board development. We want to add capacity, create more diversity, and ensure long-term organizational sustainability. So my asks of this group today, and anybody you know, refer board candidates to us. Send us people who have passion for the ecology, who have skills and interests in really fulfilling volunteer work. Please connect us with capable volunteers. We've got tons of opportunity, and we've got a lot of key jobs and leadership roles open right now. And please recommend resources, especially as each of you are taking your own individual DEI journeys and are doing board and organizational development. So I kind of sum it up with, help us solve our dilemma. We pride ourselves on our all volunteerism, but we depend on a small esprit de corps of mostly retirees who can devote the time and focus. This is not sustainable, so we really need to bring in the next generation to the Friends of Edgewood. Thank you.
Thank you. So clearly we have no time for questions, and I guess we got the timing pretty well because it just turned 5 o'clock, and it's happy hour in my house soon. I've got a couple of friends coming over. No hiking this afternoon. Yeah, I'm totally. I guess so. I'll just finish up by saying I'm totally inspired by all you guys. And I like the word legacy that you use, Peter, because I think that's what we have in this area, in this topic of open space preservation, is a legacy of great work. And that I heard a lot of you, and I mentioned, talk about long-term planning. Maybe this is, come back to the US versus Europe, but a lot of the people who work on open space and maybe the legacy were some of, I know Sierra Club founders, some of the people who came over from Europe. And I feel like there's a huge hiking culture, which I'm looking forward to all over the Alps. And I think that people yeah, I don't know what to go on and on about that, but come join me hiking in Europe at some point. But keep up the good work with maintaining the legacy. And I feel like I'm preaching to the choir, but and maybe this goes for areas outside of sustainable land, going back to the other areas of sustainability: climate, food, energy, waste, water. Is never hesitate to speak up for driving those the proven solutions that I think we know we have in all these areas. And again, just I think we have smart people around here who understand the science, and I think we have people who understand that if we don't do anything, that we are going to suffer. But we need to, someone mentioned change, Junko mentioned kind of change the culture, the way we think, is that we need to act, and we need to stop being, as I say, I feel like we are a me culture and not so much a we culture. And we need to talk to everyone about the we in this, because if everyone just focuses on the me, we're going to miss out on protecting our planet. And so happy, I think it's 51st Earth Day. And on that note, thank you on behalf of Thrive. Thank you for all of the speakers. And as I did a couple of years ago, planned a bunch of hikes around the area and invited all friends. I think I'm going to try and squeeze in a few more hikes and invite all of you and some of the others on who have attended these meetings over the years. So apologize for there's no Q&A, but we can all go talk about parks with our friends and family during dinner and happy hour. All right, thanks everyone. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Is Petra still on?
I am.
Yeah,
Nicely done, Doug.
Thank you. Did your son win the soccer game?
Not yet. It's 3-1.
No, are they up or are they down?
They're up. They're up. But they're doing a penalty now, so they're probably going to lose one. But anyway, really nicely done. Great audience.
Thank you.
Just too many
Yeah,
people.
that was fun. Makes me want to go out and hike.
I know, me too. Can you send me the list of speakers, and I will send a thank you note.
I will do that tomorrow morning.
Excellent. Have a nice beer.
All right. Thanks, everyone. I'm going to shut the Zoom.
Yep.
Thanks all for attending. Thanks.